So in this video, I want to show you how I make these little chisels that you may have seen in some of my build videos. Each of these were made originally for a specific purpose, and typically it was for cutting out squares. So you'd make one to their size and then you chop down. In this case, I would have two different sizes, one for each length. And that was the main purpose of them. But I've also started using them, particularly this small one, for cutting out small parts. They're originally just number 11 blades that are a bit worn, because I go through a lot of these with the paper modelling. You just determine the size you want. Set your calipers to the specific size. So typically I would just set these, lock it in position. I'd use this as a reference, so every time you grind a bit you check it against here. So what you want to do first is, ideally you want to keep it within the main body. As you can see, depending how wide you're going, you may have to go to one side. So we'll pick the best dimension you want, and that's where you'll cut it off. Typically, my ones are pretty small, so it'll probably be higher up here. Once this bit's removed, you also want to dull that edge, because although it's blunt for paper, it will still cut you, so we want to take that sharp edge off as well. So previously, I used to use just this Dremel, and everything was done freehand. Also, I would secure the blade in a knife handle. So everything was done kind of freehand, chopping and grinding. But I've got a better setup now that I'll show you, and it just gives me more consistent results. One of the things I want to point out though is, if you use the grinding disc, don't use the cutting disc. I don't know if you can see, they're a good deal thinner, and they won't take any sideways load. They'll just shatter. This one I've had and used it since doing all these, and I've had no problems. So keep with the larger grinding disc and not with the cutting. And it goes without saying, please wear safety specs or eye protection, because you'll get sparks coming off, and you only get one set of eyes. Okay, so I'll set up to show you the method I use now. So I now have a Proxon rotary tool, similar to the Dremel. I went with Proxon because it has a really nice drill press, which I can rotate. So the first step here is we'll cut off the excess that we don't need. Again, I'll just freehand this, but again, please wear eye protection. Now that we've cut it off, next step is to get rid of that sharp edge, again, for safety reasons. Also, the rotation is this way, so all your actions are with the rotation. You don't want to go that way, because that's when it starts digging in. And also when we come to put the edge on it, we go this way as well. If you go that way, it's going to keep pushing. Okay. So we'll just take the edge off. So that's the edge off now. We'll just use this as an example for the diameter. Starting from that edge there, I'll take that off, and then we can go to the width. So I've just put on the rough width there, so we can take that down as well. Leave a bit so we can come in. Now we can start fitting it to the calipers. So we'll just take off a piece at a time. Okay, that's it. So in this setup, the next step is now to square the edge. So we'll go just straight in. You don't need any pressure because you don't want to flex this disc because it will burst. So very gently, just going to square the edge. Okay, so that's the edge squared up. So the next part is to put in the relief, so you then got a sharp edge here, because at the moment it's square. Woodworking tools have always got a 30-degree bevel and then the 25-degree cutting edge. I just go straight to the 25. I have tried going to 20 degrees, and it is possible, and you get a lot thinner blade, which helps on the back side when you're cutting. But it's very time consuming because you kind of get a real weak edge here. It keeps breaking off, so it takes a bit of time. So we'll just use the 25 degrees. Now in the past, I'd be hand holding the Dremel and I'd be doing it freehand. And it's very inconsistent because I used to get like more of a rounded shape than a straight 25 degrees. It's possible, but it just takes a bit of time. What I do now is with the drill press, I can actually rotate this because it's horizontal. I can rotate it 25 degrees. So I'll just do that now. So now it's rotated to 25 degrees. We come in again with the turn. It's a bit low. Okay, so what I've done is I've just raised the whole drill so the point lower down so we can get in there. So now the trick is we want to hold this as vertical as possible. So just using an old sanding block with quadrant, if I place that there, I know that's as vertical, so I can just hold the blade against it. And it's still a bit of free hand, but I've got more control because I can actually, I've got a larger area to twist rather than just trying to square this up. So let's put the bevel on now. So looking on the side, I can see this back edge is still got a bit to come off, whereas this edge is like a knife edge. Once you think you're pretty close or on there, I can feel like a slight bar. So what I like to do is, if you just cut it through the edge, your cutting mat or a block of wood, it takes off that bar. So we now want to see if we got an edge on it. So just take a bit of scrap paper did cut, it's not too bad. Still a bit of could do it with a wee bit more. You shouldn't have any, shouldn't take much force at all. We'll say we're happy with that. So the next step here is polish the back edge. So this is just a homemade aluminium with 1200 grit. And what you want to do is just put it on the back and just buff the back edge, because that does help with the cutting edge as well. And even if you raise it very slightly, it'll just clean up the edge. You can then come back in and just drag it. So as you can see, or hopefully you can see, it's kind of on the right hand side. Now it's almost the full width. There we go. And then we'll just test it again with the paper. Now really, if it's sharp, you shouldn't need it, the handle. You should be able to do it just with your fingers. And I don't know if you heard that, there's a nice little click, which means it's pretty sharp. Okay, so that's how I make my little chisels. Pretty straightforward. Took, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe. And once you've got one, you find you build up a different selection of sizes, and if you need one that's slightly smaller, rather than make a new one, just grind it to width. Okay, thanks for watching.